was 86 Fahrenheit. So what is that, about 31 or 32?
That is warm.
What what's it on the East Coast there?
We're -5 right now.
Ooh,
So
that's colder than here.
a little bit. What's it like by you, Doppelgrau? How cold is it by you?
Well, I think it's about 5 degrees Celsius. So it's okay, somewhere in between.
That's good. Good. So what's in Arizona? Just a trip away?
Yeah, my Arvel's uncle, or yeah, her uncle has a place here in Arizona, so he's gonna live here when he retires. So it's in the whitest neighborhood in America. It's a gated community and a golf course and stuff, and it's this huge house. And we get it for like $50 a day, so it's a pretty good holiday. Do lots of hiking and stuff like that. So a couple weeks and then back home to the cold.
Yeah.
It was -24 when I left. And then you get here and it's +34.
It's on both ends of the spectrum then.
Yep.
Oh, cool. I think a lot's happened since the last meeting. We got our new Discourse group and brand new GUI, and just lots of stuff's happening. So that's pretty encouraging. I don't know, there's not a whole lot of us here, but might have to start digging into some of the stuff we wanted to talk about anyway, and we'll see where it goes from there. I guess what was the first thing? I'm just going to look over a second. Oh yeah, so with the Discourse group, I guess maybe just a couple. I didn't know if anybody had suggestions for improvement on that, and of course it's just the three of us here, so I think it's going pretty nice anyway. It's a neat setup, and we don't have all the ads bombarding us all the time, and that's pretty neat to have our own space to do that kind of thing. If there's any other feedback there, but
Yeah, I think it's working really well. They have really good software. I mean, there's been no spam. There's been really no anything. People are getting involved. There's like almost 200 views on a single comment. So I think I never counted the numbers on how many people have registered, but quite a few.
yeah,
Surprising.
there's a lot.
Yeah.
I noticed too just the way things are set up. It's kind of neat that way. The one thing that I miss from just your regular form software is just when the newest post is posted, it's not automatically at the top, and so not everyone can see it unless you click that latest tab. But I mean, anybody can configure that however they want to view it on their own screen, I suppose.
I wonder if we could set it up so that defaults. I know what you're saying. Like in Combine form, it's always on the side, you know, who the latest post, and that's really handy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then also who posted. Yeah.
The downside of that though is, you know, if there's a few more, then you tend to miss some of the ones that drop off the list, and then you rely only on the top 5.
Yeah, that's right too.
The rest.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. There's no right answer.
Yeah. I guess the one thing too that I noticed that might be helpful in there is, and I looked it up. We can put it on there, but it looks like you have to pay or something, or have it added on. But just being able to vote up and down certain things, as far as like if we had it in a feature request, for example, then we could, instead of running a poll, that whole feature requests thing, you could vote it up or down, kind of like, I know you've seen it other places too, but then we'd kind of know where we should focus. It might be a helpful thing in the future, but for now, I think we kind of keep it the way it's going and see what people think.
Like you see that on Stack Exchange, where people put up answers, and then what becomes popular, and if they really agree or really disagree. then you can tell right away.
Yeah.
Now,
So
the news update thing, I'm not sure what to do with that, because as soon as you post some news, then people start replying on it. But that's not a bad thing. But then the news and update section becomes huge very quickly, with lots of replies and lots of discussion.
mhm.
Should maybe make that so you can't reply to it, so that it's just news and updates. Like version 3.07 is released, and then that's the end of the story. It's not like you can say, well, there's a bug with it. Well, that should go into bugs,
Yeah.
go into news and updates. So I think when I get home, I'll look into that.
Yeah, I can even play around with that too. And I think
Sure, yeah.
we can, as admins, move those, maybe just move those replies into and tag them with the bugs thing. I agree with what you're saying. Otherwise, it gets too cluttered in that section. But that's something we can manage.
It kind of starts looking like Combine Forum again.
That's right.
Which we wanted to get away from.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that was a real, I don't know if you call it lesson learned or lesson unlearned about that, with the 2 versions that went bad. And I know one of the talks, or did you want to talk more about Discourse?
No, we're good. We can move on to the next thing.
I think you're talking about adding, and it's been a problem kind of all along, is this, how do you get code contributions into the software without it completely, like, we've been lucky so far, and I knew one day this was going to happen, where all of a sudden 2 versions, you go, holy crap, we got a big problem here. And that happened. And fortunately was able to kind of stay up day and night and fix the thing and reverse back 2 versions, and try to get the new GUI on the old version again, and then get it back up, at least something working. Maybe not the best, but at least people stop making fields in something that can only be read by that one version. And so I just uploaded again on the master the new Tramline stuff. I posted a video about the new Tramlines and the editing AB and stuff like that. And I think that's a big leap forward, being able to edit and that sort of thing. And then just this morning, Daniel, I don't know Daniel's last name, he contributed a bunch of code. It's really good code. There's no limit on the lists, or there's no limit on the boundaries. It's a list you can just keep adding to, instead of 6 boundaries that are displayed all the time. You can click on create boundary. Like, remember the versions that had trouble, you could click on create boundary and it would just add and add and add. So what I've been constantly kind of updating the dev branch, and he's been adding that back in again, except without multi-field, being that you just have a single outer and then multiple inner.
Mm-hmm.
And where being able to pick a field based on distance away from you and by name. So that all kind of happened at the same time. And just this morning, I merged Daniel's new boundary stuff with the new Tramline and all that other stuff. So as it sits right now, but it's untested. It's in the Daniel branch. But so how do you, like, that's just like one guy, and I had to manually fix 6 files and copy them over from different branches. And because there's always conflicts, there's always resource conflicts, there's always, project conflicts from Visual Studio. And I know people want to contribute file or contribute code,
Mm-hmm.
but man, sometimes it's just plain really hard.
I think a while back, I think it was in the spring, Christian from Switzerland, I believe, he kind of wrote up that whole suggestions for how to use GitHub. And but I guess what came down to it was like we would have to rewrite all the classes and just kind of separate it out, which is just a whole big
mess
to work through. But I think even I guess that's what I'm gathering is there's a lot of people that want to contribute that code, and they're just wondering how to do it. So like we have that wiki on you have that wiki on GitHub, and I forget how we said that. Some people said, well, that should just be the wiki for just developers, and then have that separate wiki for users that Andreas is hosting or that we're going to put on Discourse. But I don't know, I guess, the ins and outs of how to do that best, but I think that might be a place to start is if we get some developer wiki info, like, because if you fork the branch and then merge it back in, I mean, in theory it should work, but like you're saying, if you change something else in the meantime, it's never going to merge, right? Like it just
Correct.
create all kinds of errors. So
it doesn't merge based on line items. You know, it bases it on, like, if we both have an idea on, say, the new tram form, and you change the tram form and I change the tram form, all of a sudden it's a merge conflict. I have to take your changes and manually put them into my tram form, and then you can merge it with master.
yeah.
One version, and then it completely replaces the master. You can't have kind of like two streams, you know, working on the same kind of general area and then merge, because there's a merge conflict. You know, if you delete one, you know, if you say, well, I want to create tram B form, where you delete an existing form, then all of that is a conflict too. And then you need to manually merge the two projects so that they look the same in order to even merge them together. You know, if I added an image file and you deleted that image file, well, then it doesn't know what to do. Well, then either do we. So if you edited an image file and then I said, well, I don't need that file anymore, then it's like, okay, well, which one do you want? Do you want the edit one or delete one? So you can see how and then there's lots of pictures. Everybody wants pictures. And so then you have like 87 conflicts, and then we just go, well, screw it. So then you take the concept and then you add the concept into the code as opposed to importing the code. But then in the case of Daniel's with the boundaries, when I deleted the boundary class that he created, there was 176 errors in the project. Well, you got to go through every one of them individually by hand. You know, so that becomes extremely complicated. You know, and all you want to do is creating a boundary made by a list instead of by an array. That's all we're doing.
Yeah.
But then you have hundreds and hundreds of conflicts, and you can't merge it. And I find that really, really challenging, and I have no idea how to get around it.
I think there must be some, maybe we're not doing, like, I don't know enough about software development and how to use GitHub properly, but it maybe shouldn't be that complicated. I don't know if anybody else out there more on the developing end knows better how to do that, but it really shouldn't be that difficult, right? That every time we merge something in, you get 100 and 200 errors and you have to go through one by one.
Well, generally when people work on projects, they're assigned different areas of the project. You know, like, but one of the problems with AgOpenGPS is it's such a graphically intensive thing that kind of like all the forms, like AB line, well, it's involved everywhere. You make one change on an AB line, and it's, you know, those changes are throughout the program. So then so now you have 10 other versions of those other files. But you know, if you could only use
Did we lose Brian?
programs are, then it's a lot better, or it's a lot easier, because now you're just updating like the AB line file. You know, AB lines are used in AB edit. They're used in U-turn. They're used in Tramlines. They're used everywhere. Well, look at boundaries. U-turn uses boundaries. It uses boundaries, AB lines, U-turn lines. It uses the geofence. It uses the maze. Every function uses 500 other functions, and they're all dependent on each other. And I have no idea how to separate all that. And run fast enough on a cheap tablet.
And say that last part again. And something about a cheap tablet.
And it said, and run fast enough on a cheap tablet.
Oh, yeah.
so I mean, there's a lot of coding shortcuts just to be able so that it runs fast enough. You know, you can do great things, but if you only have a frame rate of 1 every 2 seconds, that's no good either. So I have no idea how to get around it. Just pissing everybody off, I guess, is probably the answer.
I think it's, well, and like was said before, in order to fix that, it would be just kind of almost starting from scratch and then taking each piece one by one and separating all those classes out into such minute.
Well, they are separated.
Yeah, but I mean, so they're not so interdependent, I guess, would be the tricky part. Like, but that would just be like way too involved. But it almost needs to happen to avoid burnout on your part and say, that's it, I'm done.
I'm done. I'm giving it to Wilbert.
Yeah.
His project now.
Oh boy.
Like I have no software project management skills. Doppelgrau, do you have any suggestions?
No, not really, because Windows software development or software development in general is not my core strength. During my studying, I specialized more on networks than on software development, because all this management stuff is not really what's fun to me. So yeah, I would say that Wilbert's point is, if you start from scratch, you would maybe design some parts better, so that this interdependence is a bit less. But well, we don't start on a green field or from scratch. So I would say the only thing I would suggest to you, Brian, is that this merge conflict solving I would delegate to the people who wants to contribute. So you tell them, well, this is the current stuff I won't do on this, let's say, the next 2 or 3 days or whatever, when you're doing something else. Or general. So it's your problem to bring it up to date so the merge conflict is resolved. Because if it should grow larger, you can't solve every merge conflict, because that would more or less burn you out. For example, with Linux, of course, there is also the problem that some parts are interdependent, some parts are less interdependent, but they have a more or less hierarchical structure, where, of course, head is Linus Torvalds, but below Linus there are different subsystem maintainers, they are called, and each of them takes care of a large part of the code, and it's their job to resolve merge conflict within these parts. Usually they delegate it further down to the people who wanted to contribute, but so I don't say that you need this hierarchical model, but I would say the idea of delegating the merge conflict solving down is a good approach, because as you said, few hours here, a few hours there, and yeah, it's easier to scale when this problem doesn't occur on the top, because the time there is limited. Even if you start doing it full time, your day has only 24 hours. So there's some kind of natural limit, and we all know you don't do it full time. It's some kind of hobby that limits the time even more. So I would say, at least as a general rule, solving merge conflicts is not your job, Brian. Of course, if you have someone who is not so experienced in programming and you think, well, in this case, it's worth investing some time of yours or something. Of course, there are always exceptions to a rule, but in general, I would say the rule should be merge conflicts are not your problem.
The originator's problem.
Yeah. Or
Right.
the contributor has to make sure it can be merged, and if it's not, then, well, maybe someone else solves the merge conflict if he thinks the code is valuable enough, and if nobody cares, then it's, and of course, as I said, as an exception from the rule, if you think this code is such a great addition, then you might solve the merge conflict. But if you don't care so much about this improvement and nobody else, then it's not important enough.
Ich verstehe. I guess part two to that is now you've made like this new one on it's called Daniel Unstable on GitHub. There's everything there now. I think one of the things that is missing, and it has kind of always missed, is enough testing to make sure that that version is okay. I'm kind of always relying on Andreas to say, this thing doesn't work. This part doesn't work. There's a problem here. And then I go fix it. But I think we can all appreciate there's like 87 ways to make an A-B line now. And how do you test them and the interaction of them all? And if you do something a little bit different, does that cause a problem? But I think I know that like in game testing, they have a room full of kids that they give chocolate bars and Coke to, and they play games 24 hours to test them. So how do we test? Now, even if we get past the merge conflicts, and now we've got this new merge software, how do we make sure that it isn't version 3.05 and 3.06 again?
Well, I would say from a software development perspective, there are two answers to that question. One is, and that's the hard one, I would say it's a good goal for the long run, but not on the short term, to try to break the software more in modules. Then you can write tests, automated tests, they test these modules, and after a change, if they change the behavior. So you have, well, but this also means you have to separate a bit more the user interface from the logic, because testing directly on the user interface is very hard, because you have to tell the testing software what it means when something turns red, green, or whatever color. It's way easier if you have some abstraction layer between it. And of course, you have to refactor the code, write the tests to document what's the desired behavior. And again, we have the problem, we don't start from scratch. If you start from scratch, there's usually, or not usually, but often nowadays, approach that's called test-driven development. So you first write your tests, your automated tests, that defines if the program runs fine, or that part of the program runs fine. And after that, you start writing the code. And if it passes the test, then you are probably fine. And if you find some errors in that code, that means your tests are not good enough. So improve your tests. And but this takes, of course, lots of effort, especially doing it afterwards. And so I don't know what's the best suggestion in this situation. If you say, well, for everything new, I wanted to create some sort of automated testing. I have never done it before, but I knew GitHub has some features where you can run automated testing on merge. For example, if you have a merge request, they run some automated tests to make sure all the tests stay green. But I don't know how much effort it is because never done such a project. So that would be, I would say, the gold plate standard, but I don't know how realistic that is to reach for this goal.
Yeah. It's tough. It's really, really tough to catch all these little errors. And I mean, if they're a little error, okay. But if all of a sudden, you save in one version and now none of the other versions can read it, then it doesn't make any sense, and you can't, they will really run into a big problem. That's one thing. I mean, if an AB button doesn't re-enable itself, so that you can push it again, well, that's not the end of the world. That's just an inconvenience. Wilbert, you were talking about, you were loading a field and U-turn didn't work until you saved the field and then reopened the field.
Yeah, I think that was just a one-off thing. Like I don't know, because I was just playing around with it, trying to figure out if there were any errors anywhere. So it seemed like after that, it wasn't a problem again. U-turn just was always there, but it was just that first time. And perhaps it's because I started from scratch, right? So I started with a new program, so I entered new vehicle settings. And I think maybe what happened is I probably didn't, I had to turn the simulator off, then go through, enter the vehicle settings, and perhaps I didn't save the vehicle settings right off the bat. And so maybe it was just all those things built on top of each other. So I guess when a new version comes out, that's the way I'm testing it, right? Is just starting from scratch. So that's probably one of those things that just happened in there. And then after that, like I said, I never had any other issue with it before. After that, aside from one other thing I noticed was U-turn settings, as far as if you're turning on a relay or a button, like the manual or the automatic button, when you set the entry and the exit, you couldn't, it wouldn't work if you set it to 0. I think if one of them was set to 0, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't turn the button back on or off. And I forget which way it was, if it was entry or exit or both, but I can't, because it counts up, right? The whole turn is so many counts for however long you set it.
Yeah, I think like there's kind of two functions there. When you get to the end of the turn, you have to know when to turn off the turn, like delete the turn and go and start doing the AB line again. And if it's within a point or two, or even 0, it may not trigger before it deletes the U-turn and resets the U-turn instead of the relay. So maybe I should just make it so that you can't set it to 0. Like only a couple meters is as low as you can set it.
Yeah, I guess I was just trying to have it set so that if you came out into the headland, it would shut off, and that it would turn on at the exact same part coming into your next pass. And I couldn't get that set just right, but it was just a matter of playing around with it. But as you said, I think that's probably why, because you're switching. It's trying to do those three or 4 things as we're coming into that. So
there's a lot that goes on in a U-turn, like a lot. There's so many things that are running at the same time. it's kind of becoming a mind-boggling program how much is actually going on in that silly thing. And now with the tramline stuff, I don't know if you watched the video of the tramlines. I think I should let Andreas answer it, or Dalgrau. Like, we don't. Do you use tramlines, Wilbert?
I don't, but now I might since the feature's there. So
we should let our European friends talk about tramlines and whether or not we kind of have got, at least. If you want to talk about that, Andreas.
I don't know if you heard us. Andreas, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I have a very bad connection today, so I don't understand a lot.
We were just asking about tramlines. Do you use them? And is it the current setting, the current feature that Brian put in? Is that what you're thinking of for tramlines?
Oh yes, I need to test it. I had no time, but in Europe we use only very small doors, like 3 meters, and we have sprayers with 15 and 18 meters. So, as you know now, we are using the tramlines to switch off 2 rows for each wheel, and so we have a place to drive in the field. So I didn't know that is not standard in Canada or in another the world. So you are driving just in the field, Brian?
Yeah, we just we don't use tramlines because if we don't see, then there's just weeds. So why not have crop there? I mean, we drive through the field, and we'll use it like a 12-inch spacing, and most of the time we can even drive between the rows. But if we trample on the crop, it just comes back up again. And then one pass with fungicide, maybe, is all we do with the sprayer.
Okay.
So you may as well have crop growing there instead of just weeds. Nobody really uses it. Well, there's tracks in the fields, but nobody uses tramlines.
Okay. If we need to drive 6 to 10 times into some fields, so we have 3 times to give nitro Moncar, and 2 times for the weeds, and then we have 1 time to step that the plants are not going too big. We have to
growth regulator.
Yes, regulator. Yes, and fungicides. Yes. So the most time, 6 to 7 times to drive into a field.
Wow.
So yes, you need it, and if they are there, it's just simple to work with it. So you need where to drive.
Do you even use GPS when you're going down the tramline?
I don't use AutoSteer, but I use the old version with RAID. So I have put an Arduino with USB controller onto my sprayer, and I don't switch automatically to relays. So I only input the feedback from the sprayer into the software, and
Right.
That's very simple for me. So I only look on the screen, switch on, switch off, and I see on the screen what I have done and what I have not done.
So do you use AB curve for tramlines, or mostly just AB line?
We have no fields with AP lines.
It's all AB curve.
And the most time all our fields are AP curve. So that's because our fields are so small. It's hard to make AP lines. So I have some fields, they are only 50 meters in the wide. So 0.3 hectares. and there you can't make a AB line because you only have two. So I need to make a curve on the right side and the curve on the left side and on the headlands. So for most of these fields, I need 4 AB curved lines.
So what do you do? Like if one field is, see if I can get on the camera here. If one field is straight and the other end of the field is curved, what do you do?
Yes, I tried to start on the straight side, but most of our fields are not so straight, so they have a curve about 4, 5, 6 meters in it. So if oh, I see it's drawing. So if you do an AP line, you have so much overlap on the first passes. And yes, I have started with some fields to make one side a straight line, but sometimes it's much more work to work with it.
So do you make, like when we have a field like this one on the screen here, we would make 2 or 3 passes around the outside and make a headland and have that completely done.
Yes, I need to do the headlands to finish the field, because I have we work on combined machines, so I have I don't know the word, the rototiller, and after that the seeder. So I need to make the field and the pass, I need to make the headlands.
Oh, so you don't till up the area you've already seeded, essentially. Anybody can draw on this, by the way. I think anybody can, if that helps.
Can I draw on it?
I think so.
I'm not sure how.
I am not.
It just says you are viewing Wilbert Talon's screen.
Oh, okay, hold on. I'll stop mine and close that. There, now why don't you start, whoever wants to draw, you just start the whiteboard. You hit share on the bottom, and then there'll be a whiteboard option there. So Andreas, do you want to draw that out for a minute? Or Brian, or whoever was doing it there?
I don't see the field at the moment.
No, I closed the whiteboard, so you go ahead and open up a whiteboard and you can draw it.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
And if not, that's okay too, I guess. There it is.
Okay.
Yep, we can see that.
Okay. So you draw it like this, but and the main time my fields are a little bit like this one. So yes, it's and this 50 meters or less than. So yes, if I make here IP lines, I've often overlaps here of 2 to 3 times. Do you know? So the most times my fields are like this. They look straight, but they are not straight.
Hmm.
Because I only work with 3 meter. Yes, Brian, if you work with 16 meter tools,
Or more.
Yes, or more. And
Yeah.
and if you have field, yes, you do this block of it, and I only do this block of it. So
yeah. So what happens when you get to the right side of the field, what do you do with the stuff left over?
Here,
Like you make that curve, right? Like a backwards kind of C, and you go all the way across the field like that. What do you do when you get to the right side of the field?
here,
Yeah.
yes. So I'm trying to make to use the AP smooth tours. So I'm going here and here. So I'm driving here and stop here. And then I drive these 3 turns.
Yeah, but those are AB lines though.
Yes, these are AP lines. Yes,
But I thought you said you never used them.
yes, that are AP curves. So and the most time they
They work
are
out.
90% they are AP curves, but yes, they
You try to make them as straight as possible, the curve.
yeah. I'm starting and then trying to 3 or 2 times to straight it. So I'm going to get to be AP line. But
See, I think in France, like Richard, I don't know if he's on. They use AB a lot, and I guess it's not. I was just kind of sitting here going, "You mean I did all this for nothing?"
No, I think Richard's in the Netherlands, but yeah. So the way
Oh,
they
okay.
have it there is, yeah, they want to use like he's actually from the area where my mom grew up. But anyway, there.
Oh, right. There's
Go-
Greg. Greg was from France.
Yeah, so they go right up to the dikes, right? And they don't want to leave anything go. They don't want to let anything go to waste. So I think they'll start right at one boundary, and then they'll have their tram lines set up based on one side of the field, and then they'll go across. So the tram lines stay there. But I think they still will use AB curve in that instance if there's an odd irregular shaped field.
Right. So can I steal the screen for a sec?
Sure can.
How do I do that? Oh, bottom right, wasn't it?
It should be on the bottom. It's a share. Alt S would bring up the prompt as well.
Share. Did everybody see that?
Yes, we can.
This is one of the fields Thorpe gave me, and this is the one that he created in GIS, QGIS, which AgOpenGPS doesn't read. But if you import it into Google Earth, then you can read it. So how would you do a field like this?
you mean me?
Anybody?
Yes. How big is this field?
It's 23 hectare.
Yeah, my biggest field is 5 hectares.
Yeah, and this is the one that where the video with the carrots was. That's on this field.
Oh, okay.
I will start on the left side and make straight AP lines. So if
That's for the video I made of Tramlines. That's exactly what I did.
yes, if my fields are bigger than 10 or 20 hectares, it's no problem to make straight AP lines. But
Right.
yes, I have a very small tool and very small fields, so it makes me much more work to try to have a AP line on these fields.
So I guess, I mean, all I need to know is if it worked with curve like it does with AB, that would be good for Tram.
Don't know what you mean.
Like the way it worked with AB, the Tram line in
Yes.
AgOpenGPS, if it could do that with curve, that would be good.
Yes.
Okay. I kind of figured that, but I thought I'd double check.
Yes.
So if you can do it with AB line, like AB is simple because it's 2 points, but a curve line is lots of points. And
Yes.
then you need to replicate that over
Yes.
and over and over. So then it becomes 1,000,000 points right away. And I have to figure out a way to fudge that somehow?
And in general, I don't need this Tramlines so perfect as you made it. So
Oh.
if the line is in another color, it's good for me. So or the drawing has another color, or something else, or you have a line numbering that they say, okay, this is a Tramline. So that's just good for me.
The highlight is pretty good because
Yes.
what I found is there's too many lines and there's not enough colors, and then you just have this big screen of lines and you can't tell what's what. But with the highlight I think stands out.
Yes, I think it's very good to only see the Tramlines, and that's okay. And I think you have done it very good to set it up and to move it and to work with half tool at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good. Okay, so I know that took a lot of time, but I think that's a really important concept to get right in this. And you can, I don't know if you saw in the video, you can move the screen around.
Mm-hmm.
You zoom in, and then you can move the field back and forth, and zoom in on a particular part of the field, and then return back to the implement. I think that's about time I finally added that. That was really tricky. And do you know why it was really tricky? Because it's fine when you're going straight ahead, but now if you're driving 270 degrees, up is now left.
Oh, sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So a whole bunch of combination of sine and cosine to make sure that when didn't matter what direction you were pointing, left was always left, and up was always up. So you'll have to look at the code.
Yes.
Sometimes it's those simple things, or the things that look simple that are just incredibly complicated, eh?
Well, yeah, and then like probably for a day it was like, oh, this is all good, because I would just start the program and it would always just drive north and it would work. So I just add an offset and no problem. And then I turned. So okay, great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm just going to see what else we had scheduled to talk about there. So the new GUI, we were going to talk about that. Where are we going with AgOpenGPS? We talked about Tramlines. We actually talked a little bit about development strategy. I don't know if there's anything else that we really need to talk about. Maybe just some folks' thoughts on the new GUI.
I have a quick question first.
Yeah.
On the U-turn, the two buttons, remember the two blue buttons and the reverser button?
Yep.
Did you like it when the two buttons were always in the middle of the screen and just stayed that way, or in the little draggable window?
I liked it when they were just in the middle of the screen. I was fine with that, just because then I knew they were always there and then I could hit them, and
yes.
they weren't going to move on me. But if
I agree. You got to try stuff, right?
Yeah.
I don't need the buttons, so I can move it away.
Oh,
well, you should use auto turn. Put them anywhere you want, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
No, that was good.
No fields for auto turn.
You should buy a track hoe.
Yes.
Fix that problem.
I did see a lot of machines in that Agritechnica for doing.
Yeah. The buttons on the right hand side, I mean, you can mix and match and you can put stuff 100 different ways. But I think generally the buttons that we use are there, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think the buttons that I use the most are, the snap button to snap it to wherever you are. I use that one quite a bit. And as far as A/B, like just the switching between modes, A/B, contour. And then I really liked that. I think I can see it there. There was one where you can flip to the next A. Yeah, that's right. Because we have the setup where you flip to the next A/B line, like you say A/B line 1, 2, 3. Yeah, to go all of a sudden you're going down the field and then you need to do the AV lines going in the headland, for example. That was really helpful, just to be able to hit it in one button.
And I think like with touch, kind of put all this together. The other thing is, should contour be above the curve line? Like this is an old picture. But I would think that you would want auto, manual, and then I think now it's steer, and then U-turn, and then AB line, contour, and curve. I should just bring up the new one. Shoot.
Yes. Some other user did ask to put the auto steer button on the right side.
Oh yeah, I would agree with that. I think because in general you're always reaching for because you hold on. For me anyway, you hold on to the tablet so that you can find the button with your thumb and hit it, right? So
okay, can you see the new one?
No.
My screen?
I think that's the same one, isn't it? Not?
It's the same but different.
A picture.
Okay, shoot.
It's a picture of that field, that carrot field.
I just printed the screen. How do I unshare now? Oh boy, I have so much stuff open.
I'll stop your screen sharing for just a minute and then you can open it.
Oh, there it is. Stop share.
Oh, you got it? Okay.
There we go. Yeah, that's the one. Zoom, share. This guy. There, can you see a picture of us within a picture of us?
Yep.
Yes.
So we got auto starting at the bottom. There's auto, manual, auto steer, U-turn, AB line, contour, and then curve. And then on the inside is edit AB line, and then tram line, or sorry, edit, or no, that little window that pops up that you can snap and do that sort of thing. And touch, switch, a blank one, and then flag. So you want auto steer at the very bottom?
Yes, I think auto steer and automatic button, the buttons were pressed on the match time, so they should be reached very well.
So should I put U-turn beside auto steer at the bottom?
The U-turn button on off?
Yeah, that should be beside the auto steer, and then they're just, because what I always do is just hit auto steer and then U-turn.
Okay. I never did need it.
Yeah, the U-turn one, I think it's important to have that one close by. So yeah, I think where we have that little push pin with the flag. The flag, thank you. Maybe is that what you're thinking then, as far as putting U-turn there?
Yeah.
Yes. So maybe auto steer beside U-turn and above auto and manual, maybe.
Yep. And then AB line, and then curve, and then contour.
Yes.
And the rest don't really matter. And snap.
Oh yeah, still keep snap. Yeah.
Because there's a blank spot there. I could put snap back in the middle. I use it too.
Yes, the snap button is often used.
Yeah, so it'll go back in that hole. I could put more buttons on that side. I noticed that in 1366 by 768, the buttons are quite large. So I could, if I had to, put another row of buttons in too.
Yes. And they're dosing at the name of the field could be bigger, and maybe also the machine. The machine is on here. Okay, here's some bottom right. It's the machine. And maybe you can put the name of the field on a bigger place.
The name of the field, it's up at the top.
Yes, but most time it's too small.
You got to have glasses. Time for glasses, Andreas.
No, like big as the 5 hertz, 10 hertz, and sim.
Right.
Right. So not.
I don't know where to put that. It's these guys with the 1024 screen that really cramp my style.
Sorry. I think we need to find. I think at some point in time there'll be a manufacturer that just puts out a nice touchscreen display that's, you know, 200
Like
bucks.
1366.
Or more. A full HD to touchscreen. That's that with, you know, for about 200 bucks. That's what we'd need.
Yeah.
I think we should start a PayPal donation button for or users of this more.
Well, I could take a hint. I don't want to be the one that holds everybody up. Like, if we need to switch to 1366, then so be it. Like, we can do that.
Well, I think it. What do you like in 1024? It's quite workable.
I think so too. Yeah.
They got the N trip on the side there all the time, so you can see the kilobytes used and its action. I mean, you don't have to have the you don't have to have the Batman panel up to see N trip. That's always there.
Yep. Yeah. Works for me. I noticed our time. We're at we're an hour in now. Just before we go, maybe there's some folks. I don't know if you're interested in just saying hi, but it's nice to know where everyone's from. Hey, there's a kitty. And maybe just I'll start. I don't know which order we're in here, but so I'm Wilbert Talon from PEI Canada, and well, we all know Brian.
Hello.
From
Alberta, Canada.
And Doppelgrau, where are you from?
I'm from Germany, in the rural area.
And Andreas is from?
Austria.
Sven, where are you from? Oh, can't hear you, Sven.
Yep. Okay. I'm from Norway.
Welcome. Fritz, where are you from? Oh, Fritz is muted. Gianluca, we see a lot of you on Telegram. I think Gianluca's from Italy, right? And then Andrew Jarvis. I'm not sure where you're from. Where are you at?
Incognito.
Oh, there, Fritz.
There's Fritz. Where are you from, Fritz?
It's like a challenging signal.
Yeah, I guess so. Anyhow, it was nice talking to all of you here again. We'll try and schedule it again. I'm thinking Saturday is not always the best day. I got kids home, and it's nice to be with my kids on Saturday, so I might try for another day of the week for our next video meeting. We'll see how it goes. Maybe in about 2 weeks' time, and I think we'll kind of end things there. But big thank you again to Brian and in this whole project. It's pretty neat to seeing where we are all across the world doing this stuff, and I think we're learning lots. So thanks everybody, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. Okay, bye-bye.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Tschüss.